guys, this is Tarot with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and today I'm doing a VR to my homie across the pond, Simon of the Hermit's Cave, and he it wasn't really meant to be like a tag or anything, but he said people could respond to the video, so I'm doing a VR to his tarot or oracle decks for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Definitely gonna link Simon's original video down below, as I always do with any of my VRs, but he really explains like what this means, like to have a deck for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So I have chosen my 3 decks. One of them I no longer use because it was just for a reason and so that's kind of off in my pile to trade or sell or donate or gift to a friend or something like that. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. For the first part of this VR, it is a deck for a reason. So meaning that just like friends, as Simon was talking about, sometimes, you know, certain friends come into our life like for a reason, and then they have served their purpose and they leave. And that's not to say like we just like use people and then toss them aside, but you know, sometimes people come in at just the right time that we need, and then, you know, in the way that they've helped us, we don't need anymore because we don't need that help anymore. And so, you know, we may just kind of like do a little slow fade, kind of you know, distance ourselves, and maybe just kind of remain homies at a distance, but not that tight-knit connection that we once had, because we just needed it for, you know, a certain time in our lives. Going to the second part, it's for a season. So some friends we keep in our lives a lot longer because, you know, it takes us a lot longer to go through a certain phase in our life, a certain transition. Maybe we're going through a difficult time. Maybe we're going through a really awesome time in our life, and we attract the people that we need at that time. So there is a reason. And so again, I have my deck for my reason, and then we have the deck for a lifetime. So it's our friends that stay with us pretty much our entire lives, no matter what it is that we're going through. They are our ride or die crew. Okay, so going into the first deck, so my deck that I have just for a reason, and I was like, oh wow, like how am I gonna do this one? Because I usually, if I'm not working with decks anymore and I know I'm not going to work with any anymore, I usually just donate them or gift them or, you know, trade them or whatever. But I just happened to have like my pile over there, and I was like, oh, hey, I could use it for this. So I was really excited. My deck that I had just for a reason was the Hermetic Tarot, and I actually got this in the Witch's Moon box. And, you know, at first I was like, oh, well, I don't really work with this deck. But then I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I decided to keep it because for a reason, I really wanted to really understand like alchemical symbols and, you know, just seeing things from, you know, not a Rider-Waite or, you know, other system. I really wanted to see like certain symbols and certain you know, there's like pieces of like, you know, other religions in here, and I'm like, you know, I really want to have that different perspective. So like I read this like little guidebook like through and through. Here are the backs, and I also had never owned a black and white deck before, so I was like, oh, I need this. So there was a reason that I kept it. You know, I really wanted to, you know, stretch my intuition, stretch my knowledge of the esoteric, my knowledge of alchemy, and how I could apply it to my readings. And so for a while I was just like using the heck out of this deck, and I really loved it. You know, I was getting so much learning and so much joy out of it, and everything is like, everything means something in here, like every line, every circle, every geometric shape, every like how the hands are placed, like it was just like blowing my mind. And I think it really did help my readings quite a bit. So yes, so this was my deck for a reason. And then once I felt like I got as much as I could out of the deck, or at least as much as like I wanted for my reading style and for my personal knowledge, then we started working less and less together, and then it wound up in my pile to be gifted or traded to somebody who, you know, could also get some learning out of this or some joy, or maybe it'll become their lifetime deck, and that would be absolutely awesome. So yes, my deck for a reason, the Hermetic Tarot. Then came my deck for a season, and I would never get rid of this because every once in a while I do like to bust it out because it's like an old friend, but it's definitely not my workhorse deck anymore, and that is the Osho Zen Tarot. It's not my first tarot deck, it's actually my second because I didn't really connect with my first deck, but then once I got this one, like I was all in. So yeah, with the Osho Zen, it was my foray back into the metaphysical and tarot reading, and really like helping me to open myself up to parts of my intuition that I had once been a little hesitant about. Here's the backs, and I found this just to be so healing, and I studied it, and I just, you know, I got so much out of this deck. And as I look at the images, you know, I do go back to it from time to time, but we're not like, you know, like we used to be. But I worked with this for quite some time because first of all, it was like my only deck for a really long time. But I really wanted to understand my intuition, understand how I perceived the unseen world, you know, and perceived messages that I would get, and it helped me hone like what my stronger parts of my intuition are, you know, my clairs. Yeah, and this deck really helped me to do that, and helped me do it in a way that I didn't find scary or too pushy. And yeah, I have this deck to thank for that. As this person takes a dive. So yeah, it was my friend for a season. You know, just like working with it, and yeah, we were homies for a really long time, and I think, you know, I'm still friends with this deck. Like I said, I would never ever get rid of it, but yeah, just not as close as we once were, but I will definitely still visit this friend from time to time. And then the third and final deck is our homie for a lifetime. So a friend that we would have for a lifetime, like no matter the situation, no matter what we're doing, where we are in our lives, this is the deck that we go back to time and time again. And this deck I actually have taken out of the box, although I have kept the box. Did I keep the box? No, I kept the book. I did not keep the box. But that is my steampunk tarot. So I'm not really a steampunk person, but when I got this, like it just felt like we'd been friends forever. And no matter the type of reading that I'm doing, no matter who I'm reading for, if I'm reading for myself, if I'm reading for somebody who's close to me, if I'm reading for a stranger, and then the type of reading could be a shadow type reading, could be a romance reading, could be a tell me how awesome the world is type reading. You know, that this it's just all encompassing, and I feel really comfortable working with it. I don't really have to sit with the cards and like be like, I think that, like, it just talks with me. It just flows, and I'm so happy like using this deck, and like you could probably see I'm like lighting up as I'm looking at the images. Yeah, but this is my deck for a lifetime. I use it quite a bit. The edges have started to chip. That's okay. Yeah, you guys can see like all the chipped edging. It's like kind of like bowed from use, but it's well loved. It's definitely well loved. and I can't wait to see where I am with this deck 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15, 20. Oh my goodness. This deck will probably be wrapped in a lot of tape by then, but that's okay. I don't know if I could actually like get a replica of this deck, because I think so much of my energy and its energy and just the energy from like all the readings are just like packed into here, that it's just like, it feels like my friend, you know? So yeah, so that's my my deck for a lifetime is the Steampunk Tarot. All right, Simon, so thank you so much for doing that video. I found it really interesting. You know, I like watched every minute of it. I know it wasn't a long video, but I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a unique perspective to not only take a step back and think about my friendships with people that I've had, and to kind of categorize them that way, but to look at my decks this way, and I think that's really great. So thank you for creating this, and yeah, so if you spiritual homies want to catch a reading with me, head over to www.kittenswaitsandtarot.com. I would love to read for you. I have tons of different reading styles, so you choose the style that best fits you, and then you give me the question. No matter what your question is, I take all different types of questions and apply it to that reading style. So I will catch you spiritual homies later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out!